So this one's going to have some politics in it. I'll leave timestamps so you can skip ahead. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up of bookish, booktube things, anything I want to talk about. And as I said in the intro, I want to start off by talking about politics. And what I want to talk about are the indictments of Donald Trump. Now, as an old history teacher and a civics teacher back in my day, I can't help but see all the misinformation coming out of right-wing media and out of Trump's mouth about the indictments that have come down charging him with crimes over the last few months. You know, if you aren't aware, there are essentially four major indictments right now, which contain, I think up to a total of 91 specific crimes that Trump has been indicted for. There's the hush money financial shenanigans case from New York, which I think is the weakest. There is the classified documents case from Florida, which is, I think, incredibly strong. There is the January 6th case, where it was just indictments handed down in Washington, D.C. relatively recently, which I think is also strong and incredibly important. And then there was just recently the indictments that took place in Atlanta over Trump's attempt to, or what he's accused of is attempting to get election officials to alter the outcome of the election in Florida. And what we've seen consistently from right-wing media types and Trump are several things that are just out-and-out falsehoods, and they're just out-and-out lies, and they're dangerous because they are intended to undermine people's faith in our government and in our system, in our justice system. And those are institutions which are already undermined, sometimes for good reasons and sometimes, in this case, for incredibly bad reasons. One of the lies that's come out is that Trump is essentially being prosecuted for exercising his right to free speech. This is not true. He is not being prosecuted for saying the election was rigged or even lying about it or even spreading misinformation. It is a crime to plan to commit crimes. It is a crime to use your power of free speech to encourage people to break the law. These are actually crimes. Your First Amendment does not give you the right to encourage others to break the law or to plot and plan an attempt to get people to break the law or to break the law yourselves. That is not covered by the First Amendment. In no way, shape, or form is it. As is true with all rights and all freedoms guaranteed in the Constitution, none of them are absolute, and planning a crime is not covered by the First Amendment. It's ridiculous to say so. The second thing I want to talk about is what I think is just the more pernicious and intentionally misleading idea, and that is that it is the Biden administration that is indicting Donald Trump. I know right-wing politicians and right-wing pundits want to make it out that this is true, but it is just inherently not true. A, the president doesn't have the power to indict anyone. B, the special counsel arrangement, special counsel statutes are intentionally created so that special counsels can look into criminal activities by people where there may be a conflict of interest with the DOJ or the administration, and they can work independently to decide whether or not to try to bring charges against people. This is what Jack Smith is doing. That was what he was appointed to do, to look into it and see if there were crimes that Trump may have been committed that he should be charged for. And that's what he's done. But far more importantly than all that is to understand that it is not Jack Smith, it's not Joe Biden, it's not the head of the DOJ that's indicting Donald Trump. It is grand juries made up of citizens in all those places. In other words, ordinary citizens chosen at random to be a part of grand juries are looking at the evidence presented to them by prosecutors, whether it's Jack Smith or Fani Willis or any of the others, and they're looking at that evidence to see if there's enough evidence that Trump committed a crime for there to be a trial. And if they feel there is, then they return an indictment. And they have, and Trump has been charged with all these crimes. That's not the grand jury saying he's guilty. In no way does that say he's guilty, but it says there's enough evidence that he's committed a crime that there needs to be a trial, and he will receive a trial. And that brings me to the last thing that I want to mention about this, and that is this idea that somehow this is a witch hunt out to get Donald Trump. Well, you know, very few witch hunts follow the constitutionally described process for charging someone with a crime, and that's exactly what's happened here. If we think about the classified documents case in Florida, the FBI got a search warrant as described by the Fourth Amendment. If we think about, you know, the indictments, he's been indicted by grand juries according to the Fifth Amendment, and he will receive a trial according to the Sixth Amendment, and if he's found guilty, he will receive punishment under the protections of the Eighth Amendment. This is a constitutional process, and it's not being carried out by it's not being moved forward by Joe Biden, but by, you know, grand juries, as the Constitution describes. And here's the thing: if you, you know, have watched this far and you disagree with about everything, here's the question I want you to ask yourself. You don't have to answer for me, because you don't have to answer to me. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself: if Trump is innocent, why would he not want these trials to take place as soon as possible? Why is he attempting to get the trial, the documents case, put off until late November of 2024? Why has he come out recently said he wants to put the trial for January 6th, he wants that put off until the year 2026? Why, if he's innocent, doesn't he want these trials to take place before the election so that voters will know that he's innocent and they can vote for him? Okay? The other thing I want to mention is that running for office, running for president, being a former president does not make you immune from the law. It does not give you immunity from prosecution. If it did, then we would have a two-tier justice system, a system of justice for people who had been presidents and who are running for president, which treated them differently than it treats everyone else. The truth of the matter is Trump is being treated just like everyone else would be who is accused of serious crimes in the United States. And he is right now trying to poison the process by undermining faith in juries and the justice system in the hopes that this trials will be put off and that voters will return him to office so that he can, in effect, appoint a DOJ to drop the cases and, in effect, pardon himself. As Will Hurd, one of the dozen or so Republicans running for the Republican nomination against him, who's never going to get the nomination, says, Trump isn't running for president to represent you or to serve the American people. He's running for president to avoid prison. And I think, based on his actions, that's what we're seeing. Anyway, there's the politics part out of the way. I also wanted to do, what I do every week and talk about my weekly reading. This has gone really fast in the past because I've not been completing very many books this month. And I looked up and it's already August the 18th. And so, the number of books I complete is probably going to be fairly low. As you know, I have been reading collected works by Lydia Sandgren, the Swedish writer, translated by Agnes Brume, and I have really, really been enjoying this. This is, to me, it's a big book. It's like 600 pages, and the print's really small. I'm making excuses for myself here. But it is, to me, really absorbing and interesting, and right now it really revolves around about 4 characters who are all connected to the main character, whose name is Martin Berg. And I think I said in an earlier one of these videos that I really related to Martin Berg, and I think I'm going to end up regretting that because as we go along, a lot of characteristics of Martin Berg that I don't think are particularly good begin to emerge, and I worry that I have some of those characteristics as well, but I don't want to say too much because I don't know how it's going to end up. In addition to that, one of the things that's really kind of piqued my interest is there is a certain element of mystery involved in the novel, particularly involving the relationship between Martin Berg and his wife and his daughter and a character named Gustav, who's a painter. And I really have found it to be really engrossing and interesting, and my reading pace has picked up. I've got right around 200 pages left, hoping to finish that soon. I'm just going to show you the book, which I'm not going to mention because I've not read any more of it. And then also mention that I am part of Faulkner in August and participating in the group read of Absalom by William Faulkner. Pretty much I devote all my Saturday reading towards reading whatever the section is so I can keep up. And this is the longest section we have this weekend, so I might actually start today, which is Friday, to get a little bit of head start. But this book is just as brilliant and engrossing as I remember it being. This is my third reread, I believe, my third read of Absalom. And the Voxer group we have is great insights, from Una and Alan and Roz and all the other hosts and people participating there. Just really has been a joy, but on no planet is Absalom a quick, easy read. So that's kind of my reading, which is, I think, almost the exact update that I gave last weekend for my reading. I've been having a really good year in terms of my writing. As you may know if you've been watching my channel, story published, the Stygian Collection, my military history book is going to be published sometime in 2024. And then I also got a real surprise because Matt Wall from the channel, Matt Wall Poetry Podcast and Poetic Anarchy Press, used to be called I Hate Matt Walls. That's what it's still called. I don't remember. He publishes a lot of poetry, his own and other people's, and he publishes a monthly kind of newslettery type thing of poems called The Blood Rag. And I submitted a poem to Matt, and I was overjoyed that he accepted that poem, and it is in Blood Rag number 14, the August 2023 edition. It's also there with a poem from Matt, by Jason, from Jason at Weird Reads. Anyway, so there are lots of other poems here. I think there are 8 poems here, and I just thought I would go ahead and read you mine because the Blood Rag is distributed without cost. So here's the poem that I wrote, and I have to tell you, alongside the other poems that are in this Blood Rag and a lot of what Matt and other poems, my poem feels a little bit lightweight, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. So this is my poem. The last time I slept outside. The last time I slept outside, it was in the grass on the corner, deep, green, a velour blanket, blue shimmered in the street light. I lay down, fell down, face down, smiling to the chlorophyll smell, digging my fingers in and holding on, riding the spin. Anyway, there was my poem, this Blood Rag. Thanks to Matt for accepting that poem. Really delighted and very proud to be a part of the Blood Rag. I'll leave links to Matt's channels down below, so you can go check it out and support his channel and his publishing efforts. So there's that, and then let's see, was there anything else? Okay, so the only other thing I want to do is to leave you with some musical choices to listen to if you want to. I'll leave the links to all these down below. And this list is a really short list, just 3 songs, inspired by a trip in the car in which on the radio, one of the stations I listen to on XM radio is like new wave, anyway. So there was a song on there by the band The, or however you say it, but it's The, and I saw the name of the band on the radio display, and I thought about The Commitments, the movie, not necessarily the book, and they were trying to come up with a band, and one of the band members suggested the name of the band should be And so that made me think of, you know, how many bands there were from the 80s and the 90s a little bit who had the, you know, as part of their title, the one word. So I'm going to skip the Clash here because I talk about the Clash all the time. But I do want to talk about, I mentioned 3 songs, like I said, leave a link to the videos, the music down below. One is from The Alarm, and that's Blaze of Glory. That's my favorite song by them. You may remember their singer has really spiky big blonde hair and plays an acoustic guitar. Then from The Cult, Firewoman, just as the name implies, I think that song is just kind of absolute fire. And then a completely different direction from The Cure. You probably guessed The Cure was going to have a song here, and that's Pictures of You, which is my favorite song by The Cure. Definitely a lot sappier than the other 2, but still I think a great song. So I'll leave those links down below. As always, I look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.